Hi friends, welcome back to another episode of Generation Tech. My name is Alan. So today we're going to continue our 5-part series that analyzes the militaries of the Galactic Republic, the Galactic Empire, and the First Order. So last episode we talked about the different training philosophies and techniques that these military organizations used, and today we're going to talk about my favorite part of this entire series, which is the equipment and gear. We'll be analyzing each organization's armor, small arms, heavy and special weapons, and ground vehicles. Before we start, guys, please don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification button so you guys know exactly when we upload the next episode in this series. Also, we'll be putting all these videos into one playlist so you guys can find them easier. The iconic clone trooper armor would serve as a template for all future Stormtrooper kits. The suits were designed by Kaminoan armorsmiths and drew inspiration from Mandalorian armor as well as their own design aesthetics. Because of cost and weight issues, a plastoid alloy composite was used instead of practically indestructible Mandalorian iron. The armor plates were sealed to a bodysuit by magnetomic gription panels. Phase 1 clone trooper armor was extremely cumbersome due to the Kaminoans' lack of knowledge about the human anatomy, but its bodysuit could be pressurized and sealed in vacuum, something that the Phase 2 armor couldn't do. Introduced prior to the Battle of Mon Cala, Phase 2 clone trooper armor was lighter and more durable and comfortable to wear. It was designed to be extremely modular and supported many different weapon systems and attachments. Phase 2 armor would serve the clone troopers during the GAR transition into the Galactic Empire. Some units, like the Empire's shock troopers, would continue utilizing the reliable armor. When you and I look at these suits, they look completely white, but the Kaminoan armorsmiths actually designed these kits to have a multitude of different colors, but only they can see it because they can see in the ultraviolet spectrum of light. Stormtrooper armor was heavily based on the Clone Troopers' Phase 2 armor. Featuring an increasingly aggressive look, the Stormtrooper helmet would become the feared symbol of the Imperial military. Made with fewer armor plates, Stormtrooper armor provided good protection from projectile weapons explosions, but not direct blaster hits. The bodysuits were designed to absorb the heat and energy from a blaster bolt. It would then dissipate this energy across the wearer's body, causing severe burns. Although these injuries were painful, they were non-lethal. The joints in the armor were especially weak and could be easily penetrated. The armor provided very little protection from melee attacks. The helmet also included a very advanced sensory and communications package along with internal recording devices that monitored the Stormtroopers. This information would be downloaded after each mission and analyzed by ISB agents looking for incompetency or betrayal. The First Order Stormtrooper kit was an improved version of its Imperial counterpart. It was much lighter, had a better joint system which allowed wearers much better flexibility. The suits themselves were made of betaplast. It was a durable material that was also used in their ballistic shields. According to the Galactic Accordance peace treaty signed between the New Republic and the Galactic Empire 5 years after the Battle of Yavin, Stormtrooper armor was banned from production. After fleeing to the Unknown Region, however, the First Order started a massive rearmament program. The armor had a unique feature in which it allowed users to magnetically lock their hands to certain weapons in the First Order arsenal. Captain Phasma had a set of armor made from chromium scrapped from a Naboo yacht which was once owned by Palpatine. Kinda looks familiar. The main rifle of the clone troopers was the DC-15. It was about 1.3 meters long and weighed a whopping 9.5 pounds. The weapon's powered magazine ionized the ammunition, making it very effective against mechanical as well as living targets. DC-15 featured an iron sight but could also send targeting data straight to a clone trooper's helmet. One of the weird features of this rifle was a retractable scope which could be used as a hand grip. The DC-15 was an extremely unwieldy rifle and was difficult to use in close-quarter combat, so a carbine version was introduced as well. Commando units and officers were also equipped with the DC-17 hand blasters. Many ARC troopers were famously known for dual-wielding these hand cannons, a technique that was favored by Jango Fett. The Galactic Empire utilized the E-11 as their standard-issue blaster rifle. Only half a meter long and weighing around 5.7 pounds, it had much better ergonomics than the DC-15. The rifle had several power settings from stun to kill and could also be used in rapid fire mode at the expense of accuracy. The E-11 had a shortened carbine version as well as a long-barreled sniper version. The Stormtroopers also used the longer-barreled DLT-20A blaster rifle and DLT-19 heavy blaster if deployed in combat zones with wide-open areas. The DLT is roughly the same size and shape as the World War II-era German MG-34 machine gun. The First Order's main blaster rifle was the F-11D. It was more or less an updated version of the E-11, and it featured an 8-time magnification scope that also had night vision capability. Because of the Galactic Concordance Treaty, Blastech Industry, creator of the E-11 and DC-15, was no longer allowed to sell weapons to the First Order, so instead it created a subsidiary company called Sonblast to sell third-party weapons to the First Order. They also provided the SE-44C laser pistol as a standard sidearm. For support, the Clone Troopers utilized the Z6 rotary blaster cannon. Its 6 barrels allowed for superior cooling and firing rate and was extremely effective at laying down suppressing fire. For anti-vehicular combat, the clones deployed the PLX-1 missile launcher. It could fire both dumb and guided munitions. They also had several special weapons like the BT X-42 heavy flamethrower, which proved useful in the tunnels of Geonosis. Scuba Troopers also utilized a special 2-barreled rifle that could work underwater. For suppression fire, the Empire used the dreaded T-21 repeating blaster. This rifle is extremely powerful and could only fire 30 shots from a standard power pack, so a 20-kilo generator was sometimes strapped on the back of an operator or assistant to allow continuous fire. For anti-vehicular purposes, the Minimag PTL missile launcher was equipped. Its projectiles have no guidance systems built in. The Empire also adopted many different clone trooper weapons, including the Z6. Against enemy fortifications, the First Order used the impressive D-93 incinerator flamethrower, which had a maximum range of 75 meters. For supporting fire, Mega Blaster heavy assault troopers used the FWMB-10 repeating blaster. It had a built-in stand which could be used in a fixed firing position. Riot Control Stormtroopers used Beta Blast shields and Z6 Riot Control batons for close quarter combat. The batons were electrically charged and could parry a lightsaber. The GAR had a huge inventory of ground assault vehicles and support vehicles. One of the most iconic vehicles was the Low Altitude Assault Transport, or as I like to call it, the Clone Blackhawk. One of the most beloved vehicles in the GAR, the sight of one of these meant extraction to safety. 2 laser turrets provided covering fire, and huge open doorways on both sides of the gunship allowed for quick loading and unloading. The extremely reliable gunship was modified into several variants, including one that could function in vacuum and another that could carry an ATTE into battle. The All-Terrain Tactical Enforcer was the main battle walker of the GAR. The ATTE carried a detachment of clone troopers for anti-personnel duties. It was an extremely capable piece of machinery, able to achieve a top speed of 37 miles per hour with its 6 legs. Some could even climb a nearly 90-degree angle surface. One ingenious clone commander even deployed them in space. The clone army also deployed the massive Juggernaut. It could hold around 300 troopers inside and had a max speed of 100 miles per hour. On the opposite side of the spectrum was the all-terrain recon transport. This speedy one-man vehicle was used by recon troops and possessed great anti-personnel capability. It was armed with a mortar and repeating blasters. The all-terrain armored transport was easily the most feared Imperial ground weapon. Drawing inspiration from the ATTE, the AT-AT was raised to over 23 meters to give the walker more protection from landmines. This height was also the AT-AT's main weakness. Its legs had several weak points, and the ungainly walker could easily be toppled over if one of the legs were disabled. The smaller all-terrain scout transport was utilized by scout and recon troops, but also had the same problem as the AT-AT. It could easily be toppled over and destroyed. So far, we've only seen a few of the First Order's ground attack vehicles. But we do know they have an updated AT-AT, which has a much more angular body and durable legs. The cockpit is built inside of the body and no longer exposed like the Imperial AT-AT, which had a weak spot in their neck joint. A smaller assault walker was also used by the First Order as mechanized cavalry. For troop transport, the First Order used the atmospheric assault lander to carry stormtroopers into battle. They can hold up to 20 troopers along with a pilot and gunner with a rapid deployment assault ramp. The ramp was forward-facing because it forced soldiers to aggressively push forward once the door was open. The ship's design is reminiscent of the Higgins boat used in World War II amphibious assaults. Although these three armies were equipped in a relatively similar way, these organizations were also designed to confront completely different threats, and their gear reflects that. The GAR was the only military out of these three groups that was constantly fighting large-scale battles on multiple fronts with an equally well-equipped armed force. Therefore, a lot of their weapon systems were heavier and designed for a giant battlefield. The GAR was also well-equipped to fight droid armies and used ion and electromagnetic pulse weapons to counter mechanical threats. The Imperial military's main function was to create fear and order in the galaxy. Everything from their helmets to their walkers were designed to psychologically defeat their enemies. However, these intimidating designs all had weak points and were exploited by their enemies. First Order suffered greatly from the Galactic Concordance Peace Treaty and had to find a new means to produce equipment. They had learned from the mistakes of the Galactic Empire and fielded a much smaller and well-equipped force. The First Order's vehicles and weaponry were all designed for rapid deployment and mobility, and a lot of their equipment were just updated designs from the Galactic Empire. Alright guys, let me know what you think. Which one of these armies is the best equipped? I think each one of these organizations presents a pretty strong case. Anyway, don't forget to like and subscribe because we will be coming out with 3 more videos in the series that will compare the leadership structure, naval power, and combat effectiveness of all 3 of these militaries, and we'll also determine which one is the best once and for all, or well, at least in my opinion. Anyway guys, thanks for joining us, and if you're watching this, you are Generation Tech.